Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. My name is Tuskeh, and in this video we will be discussing patch 6.1 and a sort of thing that I've noticed about the reaction I've been seeing from some players, especially on the forums. Now, I know the forums aren't exactly the best place to look, but unfortunately they are a big part of World of Warcraft, even if most of us don't want them to be. But, interestingly enough, this actually starts all on Twitter. So, this all starts with a tweet by Bashiok, or rather, a reply. So someone asked him on Twitter, is the Iron Docks quest chain cancelled for patch 6.1? Really need to confirm this before people start causing a ruckus about it. Now, this was the first I'd actually heard of a quest chain in 6.1, but I don't tend to read too much about new features before they're ready, because that's a fantastic way to set yourself up for disappointment, because Blizzard does have a habit of promising the world and then having to scale back. It turns out that Bashiok's response to this tweet did start a ruckus because he replied with, and I quote, "Still working on it, it was moved to 6.2. This has created a small wave, but still a wave, of anger at Blizzard, and for some reason, Bashiok, I don't get that. He isn't exactly the one making these decisions, and if he is, then there's some kind of gross misrepresentation going on, which is obviously not the case, so try and lay off the guy for a bit, alright? Anyway, so this wave of anger stems from the fact that the Iron Docks quest chain, which apparently was just some kind of quest chain in the Iron Docks, was supposed to be in patch 6.1, and it was going to involve the Blackrock Foundry in some kind of way. I'm not sure, I didn't really read much about these kind of things to avoid spoilers, and I tried doing some research, and all I found was more links to content cut, delays, Blizzard is slowing down, etc, etc. Now, this wave of anger, I think, is entirely unwarranted for several reasons, but before I start with that, I just want to state that I do agree with the overall consensus that has surrounded this issue. Delaying content, regardless of how small it is, and believe me, this is a very, very small amount of content, sucks. It does. Not being able to have new stuff sucks. That is the only part of this that I can agree with. Now that I've got that out of the way, let's discuss some of the ridiculous arguments that have been made by players about this issue. I bought an expansion expecting content. This is a fair statement, but I just want to ask, what qualifies as content? Because I imagine this is going to be different for everyone. Does Twitter integration coming in 6.1 count? For a lot of players, including myself, no, that's not content. I might not use it. I probably won't. I might, but I'm not all that interested in it. Okay, how about the new heirloom tab? Well, sure, it's going to be helpful, of course, a tab for heirlooms, that's cool. But a lot of players believe this should have been part of the base expansion, so no, they don't believe that this is content. Okay, that's fair enough. How about the new daily quests in the garrison? That must count as content, right? Summoning bosses into your garrison? The music box? The new vendor? The new unique follower? The new wing of the legendary quest chain? The upgrades to the flight paths? The myriad of class changes? The increased graphical options and colorblind mode? Surely one of these things counts as content. How about focusing on all the stuff you're getting, rather than the tiny thing that you're going to get? Content is really weird, because what I consider content, you might not consider content, and that is entirely fair. However, that doesn't mean you can use that as a reason to attack Blizzard or to criticize them. 50% bigger team, no more excuses. Respect subscribers and get on top of badly optimized, poorly prioritized development. Now, let's strip away some of the hostility there. That leaves us with, you have a 50% bigger team and you have nothing to show for it. Again, this sounds like a fair criticism, but have you considered that games take time to make? I'm sure you have, but think about just how long it takes. Think about how long it might take, for instance, to, say, create a raid tier, since for some reason people like to communicate content in terms of raid tiers. I don't know why, but apparently that's a thing now. So, let's imagine that Blizzard is going to create a single raid, and let's imagine the work that goes into it, alright? Now, I don't know too much about this process because I don't work for Blizzard, and anyone who pretends they know all this either works for Blizzard and isn't telling us, or just doesn't know. I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know. This is just the kind of things that I imagine they'd have to go through. They'd have to create a concept for a raid, decide who or what the bosses will be, so that's going to be anywhere between 6 to 12 bosses, decide the layout for the entire place, the theme, whether it's going to be icy, fiery, iron horde-y, ogre-y, anything like that, the mechanics of each boss, right, how the fight actually plays out, the spells that they used. Then they have to actually create those mechanics by writing the scripts for the spells, how they act when those spells are cast, things like that. They then have to work with their art team to create an entirely new set of art assets. Things like models, environments, spell effects, each of these needs to be created in detail by an artist. That's not even covering concept art, and any changes that need to be made at any point to anything covering art or mechanics. Then they have to implement the raid and test its arse off using an internal team, constantly tuning and tweaking it. And then they need to hand it out to the public test realm to test it even further. Consider then that regardless of the size of their team, things will take time to make. I don't know what the process is, and this was just kind of a guess, but I'm pretty sure we can all agree that all of those things need to be done. Maybe not in that order, but surely at some point they need to be handled. I probably missed quite a few of them as well. Yes, Blizzard's team is bigger now, but we won't be seeing the advantages of that for quite a while because games take a long-ass time to develop, and changes made right now might not be noticeable until a year down the line. That's just the harsh truth of games development. It takes time. The new games that come out every year are behind the times. It's that simple, because they take so much time to make. 6.1 seems to have no lore-related cinematic. I actually pointed this one out because I feel like it's fairly valid. However, upon doing a bit of research about this, I realized something. How many cinematics has the team created for Warlords of Draenor compared to Mists of Pandaria, right? Not cutscenes that play using the in-game engine, actual cinematics that are kind of in between the trailer quality and the in-game quality. Mists of Pandaria had, in its initial expansion, destroying the gunship at Shenzin Su, which was really short, leaving the Wandering Isle, the Horde Pandaria briefing, the Alliance Pandaria briefing, and the Battle of Serpent's Heart. That's just the actual release of the game, not before any patches, okay? Warlords of Draenor has, in its initial expansion, Into the Portal, A Taste of Iron, Thunder Pass, The Dark Star, The Battle for Shattrath, and Justice for Thrall. So, Warlords of Draenor has more, higher quality, longer cinematics than Mists of Pandaria did. And we're still getting into Warlords of Draenor's lifespan. Do you really think that they're not going to do any more cinematics? It's clear that they love them, and it's clear that they're going to do as many as they can squeeze out. 21 pages of bullshit, pity changes, and screaming "fuck our customers." Far from appropriate, but very predictable. Okay, so I copy-pasted the patch notes for patch 6.1 into Google Docs, and it actually ended up being exactly 21 pages, just so you know. Secondly, pity changes? What is a pity change exactly? Giving in to players begging? If that's the case, why is there no mention of allowing flying in this patch? Thirdly, I tried searching for the word fuck, the word and the word customers in 3 different searches, and the only one that actually gave me any results was which actually came up with a lot of your rather than and actually some stuff about the Argent tournament, funnily enough. Fourthly, far from appropriate. How? Exactly what would have been appropriate? Not applying the important class changes that are included in this patch? Not furthering the legendary quest chain? Not improving garrisons, adding in new graphical support settings, improvements to Ashran? Because for all of the accusations that Blizzard seem to be getting about not fixing the game and treating it inappropriately, they seem to be getting lambasted when they actually try to implement these changes to make the game better. Fifthly, very predictable? I mean, I guess so. Blizzard does have a long and damning history of fixing the game, making it better, and adding improvements to just about every system within it. So I can agree with you there. It is very predictable that Blizzard wants to make their game better. Finally, let's go over a couple of arguments that aren't arguments at all. There are cases of very angry people very angrily making statements that could be conceived as an argument, or, as feedback. The phrase, "fuck our customers" in a tweet does suggest hostility, yes, but it also suggests an underlying issue. A lot of the times, people are just angry because they feel like they have been wronged. Unfortunately, this is not one of those cases, and the following quotes are not arguments. They offer no kind of helpful feedback. If you hear someone making an argument using these points, call them out on it. I like to think that this expansion is so unsuccessful because Blizzard sees it as just a placeholder for the next one that's getting most of their resources. I don't think Blizzard has ever stated that any expansion was ever a placeholder for anything else. But you guys seem to be pretty confident at not trusting anything Blizzard says despite playing their game and giving them money, so I guess this just doesn't make any sense at all. Translation: we moved most of our devs to Overwatch, since we, Blizzard, didn't learn a damn thing from Titan. Business tip since Blizzard is from California: don't be negligent. Take care of your cash cow. First of all, this is speculation. Second of all, don't roleplay as them, it makes you look like an idiot. Third of all, business tip? I wasn't aware that you were in this business. Fourth of all, California? I don't get that. Maybe that's just my inexperience. Don't be negligent, take care of your cash cow. They're doing that. This is what this patch is about. What is the worst expansion for content? Hands down. Posting selfies on Twitter and a BOA tab that was due at X-Pac launch is not content. First of all, Warlords of Draenor's not over yet, so sweeping statements are pointless. And you are not the authority on what is content and what isn't. Nor am I, but at least I'm not pretending to be. At least Cataclysm had a bunch of raids, dungeons, etc. This expansion is a complete joke. Better graphics is about all that's good about it. Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. Warlords hasn't added anything to the game. Nothing at all, save for new models, garrisons, the best questing experience in the history of the game, a new story, new raids, dungeons in the PvP zone, scaling numbers to a reasonable level, removing superfluous stats, the group finding new inventory updates, and a huge world full of detail that's more open-ended than ever before. So yeah, nothing at all. I'd continue, and I do have more of these available, but honestly, I've run out of steam for this. I have no care left for this stupid argument. You know what the most idiotic thing about all this is? This whole thing that has blown up over at the Iron Docks quest chain. The thing that has not been mentioned by anyone except for, say, Bashiok. It's this. The Iron Docks quest chain is one quest. That's it. One quest got pushed back, and it's caused an uproar. That suggests an issue that's far deeper than content. And you know what sucks? This issue is not Blizzard's issue. There's nothing they can do about it. This is the players' issue. They are the ones constantly making ridiculous expectations, constantly wanting things to change while staying the same, constantly trying to bully a company that deeply loves their game into making changes to it, just because Blizzard has the good grace to let the players offer feedback. Do you know how many companies don't let you offer feedback? How many companies don't change their games from year to year? Blizzard could very easily just create knockoff content every single time an expansion comes out, and they do okay, but they don't do that. They try and mix things up to the best of their abilities. This game is old as hell, and they have pushed it to its limit. What really hurts is that the smart comments, the thoughtful questions being asked on the forums and on Twitter from smart people who want to help make the game better, who want to understand, those ones are being horrendously downvoted for some reason and buried beneath a huge wave of nonsensical arguments and hatred. This whole thing is insane, and it pisses me off that I and my friends can be associated with a group of whiny, needy people who for some reason don't have anything better to do than complain about a single quest in a single, massive game. They complain, they don't offer feedback, they are hostile towards human beings with lives, loves, hates, families, passions for this game, and they are trying to self-destruct them with their hostility. There are people out there in the world right now dying to diseases that you are vaccinated for. There are people out there being hanged because of their lifestyle choices. There are people out there who are being oppressed by governments that will jail them for next to no reason. There are hundreds upon hundreds of issues facing us as a species right now. And the fact that so many people are arguing with the same laser-focused determination that might help solve these issues about a single quest in a single game depresses me. It is as simple as that. It depresses me. And I'm done talking about it, at least right now. I'd be happy to discuss this in the comments with you folks, at least. Let's try not to complain about the game this time. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful in some way. If you have any thoughts, comments, suggestions, or feedback, you can contact me using the links in the description, or you can just leave a comment. Today, I offer my thanks to Bear of Bark, one of my patrons who helps keep this channel afloat. You can find out more information about that stuff using the Patreon link in the description. Now, before we leave, I think it's about time we start listening to music at the ends of these discussion videos, because I do miss doing that. I really do. So today, we're going to listen to a piece of music from Warlords of Draenor. It's called Wolf at the Gates, and it's just fantastic. The music in Warlords of Draenor has really been one of the parts of it that I've loved the most, and it deserves more respect. It really does. And hopefully you guys will enjoy this. Let me know what you think about reintroducing this music at the end of the videos. And of course, thank you very much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck with your gaming endeavors.